Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Elisa Ruffin with Leading Educators, and you are on the Grade 11 ELA Unit 6 video series. We are doing Week 5, Lesson 22 activities today, and I hope that you guys are ready. A brief recap of what we've accomplished so far this week. On day 1, you did a first read with corresponding annotations and a summary of the non-fictional text, a brief history of the short story. On day 2, you engaged in your close read, did annotations, responded to some questions, and did some overall reflecting. Today, we're moving on to our analysis of the text. We will do our analyzing by responding to some questions and engaging in some additional reflection. Before we complete those activities, however, make sure that you remember when we are done with them today, that you share your learning with a family member, caregiver, or friend, that you are using a page from the text to complete the weekly fluency activities, and that you're choosing a text that you want to read leisurely for another 20 minutes a day. Also, let's take care of the little business we call the riddle of the day. Another reminder that we're doing Rebus puzzles this week that are based in images. I hope that you've enjoyed the couple of puzzles that we've had so far and are liking the new visual component to the riddle. So by now, you have enough time to gather those around you that have been participating and get yourself overall focused for today. Here comes our visual riddle. This one is an interesting one. I'm giving you a moment to talk, discuss, and react. Before I reveal the answer, here it comes. Press pause if it's too soon for you. Cliffhanger. A cliffhanger. So if you know what a cliffhanger is, it's when a story or a movie or a TV show leaves you on edge, doesn't bring you to full resolution. So you're in suspense, waiting for the next thing to happen. So this is a really unique and clever way of representing that idea. Now that we've gotten all warmed up, let's make sure we have our materials for today. You need a brief history of a short story text, your learning packet turned to Week 5, Lesson 22, along with the note catcher, pen or pencil, and again, your mobile devices are optional if you want to access the text digitally. Another review of our story here, our text written by author D.F. McCourt. It's nonfiction and a magazine article specifically focused on the history of a short story from the 1820s on to the present. It also gets at the essential question, what do stories reveal about the human condition? And our guiding question, how does this literary history shed light on the short story's ability to address the human condition? Both of these things are going to continue to come into view as we move on in our lessons and progress for the week. Our learning target for Lesson 22, I can evaluate the impact of historical events on the short story, and I can connect information presented in the text to the essential question and theme of the unit. I told you that it was going to come up. So that is what we're looking at today by way of goals, right? Moving on to our overview of lesson activities for today. Remember, we always engage in our read, think, talk, write, and close protocol to make sure that you're engaging in some well-rounded learning. You are going to read through, again, skimming, probably, a brief history of a short story. And you're going to think about how did the gift book give rise to the short story and to literary magazines. To a degree, you have thought about and responded to this question as you've annotated through those first 2 reads of a brief history of a short story. This time, it includes the idea of literary magazines as a component that we want to see cause and effect with. In your talk today, you're going to share what you believe to be is the most important fact presented in the text with a family member, friend, or caregiver, and provide your reasoning as to why you think it's the most important fact. Always providing evidence from the text. That is our routine. After you do your read, think, and talk, you're going to move on to the write and close for today. And in that write, you're going to do what I just said. You are going to provide evidence from the text to support your answer to the question in the think section. Okay, in the think section. Always making sure that you're citing evidence. And then in your closing today, you're going to address the guiding question. How does this literary history presented in the article shed light on the short story's ability to address the human condition? Always making sure you're providing evidence from the text to support your answer. All right. I am going to do a quick model of your think, write, and close today. And we're going to do that without pausing because it is activities that actually link together. They build on each other. So it's really good to have some continuity to make sure that one idea is building on the next and there's a good flow. So I'm not going to break up that flow for you today. I'm going to give you the model up front and allow you to bring those activities to resolution in one setting. So starting with your think activity, the question is, how did the gift book give rise to the short story and to literary magazines? Emphasis on gift book, and you remember that term. It's used in the first paragraph of the text, if you can recall from our first and close reads, which is why this should seem very familiar to you, and to literary magazines. In this particular instance, I need to think about how the gift book led to the emergence of short stories and literary magazines, not just a short story, as a popular literary form. The great thing is that I've addressed this question in previous annotations. In my first and close read, as I'm looking at my initial important events and facts, and then doing my connecting of cause and effect, I should have some really good annotations around that. And you can also go back to my model annotations there as well. The only difference is that you're adding on this layer element of literary magazines. So you want to make sure that you go back to the section that discusses literary magazines specifically and glean the same type of information that you already have about the gift book. Then you're going to move on to make sure that you provide evidence from the text to support your answer to that question. Pretty straightforward. This idea of annotations from the first and close read, setting you up to do analysis well, continues to resound from text to text. It is no different this time, ladies and gentlemen. So you want to go back to your annotations and my sample annotations, and this should really help you address the question in your think section and also identify the examples from the text you need in your write section. Moving on to the close, how does this literary history shed light on the short story's ability to address the human condition? Again, provide evidence from the text. I have emphasis here on shed light and human condition for a reason. First of all, just a brief recap. We have talked ad nauseum about what human condition is, but it's always good to review that the human condition refers to thoughts, feelings, experiences, etc., that human beings share and that they have in common, right? So you're going to, again, go back to the essential question for the unit here and connect it directly to this text. Okay. When approaching this question as it relates to the idea of shedding light, I need to think about how the historical information presented in this article gives me further clarity and insight about how and why the short story is able to address the human condition. So it's not just about whether or not it's connected, the short story is connected to the human condition, but what makes it uniquely capable of reflecting the human condition based on all the information that the author provides in its overall history and explanation of the short story. Now that we've unpacked that, it is your turn. And remember, we're not pausing. So it's your turn to do the read, think, talk, write, and close. You're skimming through a brief history of a short story, but you're also going to go back and look at your annotations. I want you to review those, review your summary, and your reflection from previous lessons to make sure that you don't leave anything out, right? Make sure you have that together. And then you're going to address the question in the think section, talk to a family member, friend, or caregiver about what you believe is the most important fact presented in the story. And then you're going to go ahead and write the evidence that supports your answer in the think section and close by responding to the guiding question for this specific text. Tall order, but you are more than ready and capable to come up to this task and complete it. If at any point you get stuck and you need some additional help, make sure you pause the video and replay. You can even go back to previous days' videos and the annotations done there. If there was something that was said or written that you think would be useful and applicable, you can do that. So there is the ability to pause, replay this video and others to help assist you. And then also remember that you can email your teachers for support if you need it using the information provided. After you're done and successful, make sure you share your learning with a family member, friend, or caregiver, that you complete the weekly fluency activity, and you do an additional 20 minutes of reading for leisure. We've come to the end of another lesson today, guys. I appreciate your attention and your time. I know that you're going to be successful on these activities, and use all of the resources at your disposal to do well. We'll see you back for the next lesson.